It was their first loss in the Champions League this season. They lost that game against Lille when Jonathan David scored that penalty in 45 minutes, almost the end of the first half, and that Real Madrid tried as much as they could. They introduced Mbappe in the second half because Mbappe didn't start that game to try to race, even if it was a point. This Champions League is a league table, so every point counts, but they couldn't equalize or even get the win. Now, guys, if you look at that game against Lille, even though they set up 3 at the back, but they were attacking. The position was almost like 50-50. They attacked Real Madrid because Real Madrid was thinking that probably these guys was going to sit back, then probably hit them on the counter, but they came out to play that game also.
Well, look at it. I said this, when I was telling you earlier, I said that game needed an informed, very fit Camavinga, because there were some tackles he couldn't go for because he was just recovering from injuries, and he started that game. So I think it was a good game for them overall because they kind of they didn't set up deep. They didn't set up to sit deep and absorb pressure and hit on the break. Whenever they are on the ball, everybody is making touches on the ball. They move forward. It's like a compact movement forward, backward. I don't know how to put it now for Leo. It's like whenever they are on the ball, everybody is moving forward. Everybody, not every single one of them is moving forward. And when they lose the ball, every last one of them is tracking back to defend and cover up spaces. And I think they kind of shunned up in the middle of the park where they didn't allow most of the Real Madrid creative mind to send passes forward. It was just one of those games you say the coaches did their homework on Real Madrid and how they play and pounced on the inavailability of some credible players.
When you talk about coaches doing their homework, it's always fun because when you win a game, it's like the coach is like a genius. But if probably have lost like 5-0, nobody will not say that he got his tactics wrong.
It's about one thing about tactics is you go, you win matches. You're a great coach.
Yeah, a great coach. When you
lose it, you look at the errors you made. Because it's like coaching is not just I have a good side, I have a wonderful world-class players around me. It's about how you can implement your psychology in those players to play your style.
Okay, John, if you look at the formation Real Madrid play, they play the 4-4-2. Jude playing off the left side of the midfield. Now I'm playing through 2 strikers. Do you think that formation it helped Madrid? I think it's part of the problem that had Ancelotti got wrong in that. He's the coach, he's the great Ancelotti, so we can't question his formation, his tactics. But for me, I think he got this formation wrong, and he should probably starting Hendrick too. He's a young lad playing Champions League football, maybe starting Champions League football. Okay, maybe because of Mbappe was injured, he needed to start. But overall, Real Madrid didn't show good account of themselves in that particular game.
I agree, but I want to just quickly put 1 or 2 things in place first before we get into the performance yesterday. Number 1 is that you're playing a Madrid side that you have a Camavinga who, in my opinion, should not have started that game.
Definitely
you
not.
Play Federico beside Tchouaméni, and then you play Rodrigo in the 7th position, and you bring Camavinga only in the dying embers of the game to give him some run of game so that he can recover himself, get back into the mindset and the mind frame to be able to play these big matches. So Camavinga starting was a no-no for me. And then secondly, yes, this is the right time to start giving Hendrick some of these games, because who else are you going to call up or trust to play in that position up there? If not this season, if not next season, he should be the one leading the line in the attack for Real Madrid in the coming 5 to 6 years.
Starting him was
giving him a good start. For me, give him a good start. He started, is his first start.
Start him in Copa del Rey, please.
He can improve on that one.
Start him in Copa del Rey. Start him in La Liga against Osasuna. Start him against what's it called?
Lille is still a small team.
No, it doesn't mean it's the Champions League.
It doesn't matter. It's still a small team.
Irrespective, he should be starting.
It's a small team. Where did Lille finish in the Ligue last season?
But
see,
they were top 3.
Irrespective of where they finished,
understand.
Should be starting.
No, it's not irrespective of where they finish. Before you can play the Champions League, you're not a small team. You can't tell me Aston Villa was a small team yesterday when they were playing against what's it called, Bayern Munich. You can't tell me Tottenham Hotspur was a small team when they were playing against.
So who should they have started up front?
That's the regular players. I know he had injuries.
Rodrigo was on the bench. He wasn't even introduced.
Rodrigo was on the bench. He wasn't introduced. There's a Lucas Vazquez that look. There are many players that could have been.
Lucas Vazquez played at a 9.
See, not as a 9. I say they will
as a 9. And who will you play in that 9 position?
What if you play a Jude there? Your answer was you play a Jude in the 9th position, and Agula, fine, he starts on the right. Vini, Jude, Ander on the right. That's the front 3. Then the middle is okay the way it is. with a Modric coming in with senior man Modric, I'll call her senior man. He go play there. It will be good. It's a good combination. Look at you. We can all fault the attack line and start Hendrik. Hendrik is to manage young talents. To manage, it's not just. We know these guys are talented, but to manage young talents, you need to know where to put them in the game.
Yamal is playing for Barcelona.
How many years
What are we not talking? It's crazy. It's crazy how you say that Hendrik should be on the bench and he shouldn't start. When you go across Europe, you go into the likes of in the Premier League. You have young players that have done well on the bench, coming up from the bench. Excuse me. You have Garnacho coming off the bench, giving him a good performance, and then getting his day in the sun to start matches for the club. You have a couple of other players in Europe that start from the bench because they are not starting. For example, John Duran, for example, keeps coming off the bench to put in a good performance. You should be rewarding these players with a starting bet no matter what, because if you don't give these people more time on the ball, they will not develop. They've gone beyond the age of 17 where you need to train to develop yourself as a player. You are in the window where you need to play football week in, week out to continue to develop yourself as a young footballer.
It doesn't matter.
Yesterday, starting Hendrik was a very good decision.
And the decision showed, so they lose.
It's a very good decision. His job is not to create chance.
Calm down.
His job is not to create chance. His job is to finish chances.
And how many passes did
how many services was he giving?
Anda was supplying him, Jude was supplying him, Vinny was supplying him. He was lost. Let's call it the way it is. You keep mentioning every player you put in respect to what's called Hendrik now. All of those players have been in Europe for past 5 years. Garnacho, Atletico Madrid. I should go on with the list. Yamal has been at Barca. He's played last season off the bench. For the first 6 months of last season, he was playing off the bench. He wasn't starting. If you look at his record, you can't just come into a league side all the way from Brazil. It's not be a Brazil league they play for here.
I disagree with that. He should have more games under his belt, and he should be playing more games.
More games under his belt.
To tell me that this is a player that you should be bringing in the second half, I disagree, because Baba has come in off the bench and scored critical goals for Real Madrid this season. So what are we not saying?
Wait. You are making instances to other players, and I'm giving you record of how they started. We are calling Yamal now this season. Fantastic player. Last season, where was he? First 6 months. Off the bench. 30 minutes. It's about when you show result, they increase your time limit. You understand? Phil Foden, for example, I told you about his understudy, how he understudied David Silva. He's there with 15 minutes. From 15 minutes, he entered 30 minutes. From 30 minutes, he started playing 60 minutes. From 60 minutes, he started playing 90 minutes.
Because he had better players ahead of him in that position.
So
Real Madrid is in a situation. I disagree. Real Madrid is in a situation now where Mbappe and Hendrik are the only two strikers they have up front. Every other person is a forward and a winger. Case closed.
And the forward and wingers got them trophies last year.
I think
the forward and wingers got them trophies last year.
If you look at this, look at
it now. Look at it. I'm just saying this. No matter how you rave about it, this guy is coming into Spain. He's coming into Europe for the first time in his life. You understand? For the first time in his life, when Rodrigo made the switch, also he said after playing, look at the way they introduced him. Rodrigo was not starting. It was the same part. Okay. You start off the bench, 15 minutes.
Go back to Rodrigo's first season. Go back to Juvini. He started off the bench, but he was given a couple of games starting. He didn't play them 90 minutes, but he was taken off in the second half.
Look, towards the end of the season, that's what I'm saying. At first, when you play the first 3 months off the bench, 15 minutes, you increase the time.
I think the issue there is what John is trying to say, and both of you are trying to say, is if Ancelotti got it right, starting Hendrik. But I think for him not to introduce Rodrigo, that means he's not match fit or he's injured because he didn't play. Then
Kylian was not match fit, yet he played.
That's what I'm saying. Mbappe,
Camavinga was not match fit and he played.
I'm trying to look at it from the coach's perspective. Rodrigo is his first team player.
Yes.
He did not start and he wasn't introduced. Probably he had something wrong with him. We don't know what is wrong with him. Now we have Mbappe that just returned from injury in that game. Now, probably he wants to play a 2 striker. That probably what Ancelotti wants to do. He has only Hendrik and Vinicius to play up front. Probably that's why I see probably why he started Hendrik. I think if every other forwards are probably match fit I don't think Hendrick should be starting, but
Why was
probably he
Brahim
was
Diaz
forced.
not introduced?
I think he was forced to start Hendrick because probably, in quote, he's only the traditional number 9 had in the team. That's what I think.
Let's say it the way it
Simple.
is. When your tactics get you results, everybody will sing you praises. But we all know when it comes with a flood. I've already said this. Every tactician in this world know their style of play. And every tactician know that their style of play can be flawed. Even Ferguson, as great as even Pep, as great as he is, knows that at some point your tactics can be flawed. You need to compromise. You need to change. But the change you make should not affect the whole setup of the team. You have Kamavinga coming back from injury. You have Kylian coming back from injury. You have against Atletico Madrid. It was just 3 days ago. It was a tough game. On Sunday.
What I want to ask, I think the
tough game.
I
So
think the
I think
problem
players
was here.
need rest.
No, I think the problem here is Ancelotti, because if you look at the way he set up against Atletico, he played Jude behind the 2 strikers. Now he played it off the left. So I think it's a tactics problem now from Ancelotti. I don't think it's the personnel problem
and
now.
it's not just the tactics problem, because when we talk about this and you are coming from the angle you are coming from, we are ignoring one fact that irrespective of the crop of results they've had this season, Real Madrid for the best part of 3 seasons have had a flawed tactics, because we see them slip through games, we see them play poorly and still win, we see them get points, even turn around games that they don't deserve.
That one is, I don't even understand how they do that one.
We see them do that. Do you understand me? So having this cognizance now of all these things that we said about their gameplay, coming into that game for yesterday, the only thing that was, let me say, an outlier in the performance was that key players on the pitch were not at optimum performance, and the game suffered because of those 2 players. When they conceded and they went down, he had to now put in Mbappe and a couple of other guys to see if he can salvage the situation, not because he would have preferred to play them, but because he wanted to save the match. Do you understand me? So that's why we saw the likes of Kylian and a couple of other guys coming in. But I'm saying that the performance we saw yesterday was hampered by a couple of players that were not at their peak. And when we have a squad in Real Madrid now where we have other players who can play in those positions not getting played in that position, when you keep tinkering with who plays where, we end up with a result we saw yesterday, because your moving players around did not yield the result you wanted to see yesterday.
If you look at last season, he was consistent. Ancelotti was consistent with his formation. He played Jude as that first 9 or whatever you want to call it behind the 2 striker, and he got him result. But this season he will play 4-3-3. Yesterday he played a 4-4-2 flat. In the weekend he played the same formation he played last season. That means playing Jude behind. Do you think that him changing all this formation from 3 formations now? This is about just 10 games in season. He's played 3 formations already. Do you think he's probably causing this player?
Have you noticed that in the first 7-10 games of the season, coaches tinker with the tactics, see if they can change something that they did last year?
I think because probably added Mbappe, he needed to change.
He will add players, new players will come in. So to fit those players, just like fitting the puzzle, to fit those right pieces of the puzzle, you need to change some things. Kylian has come into the side now.
You need to change something.
You need to change one thing. You can't be playing a 4-4-2 flat with Jude on the right. That's what it is on paper. And throughout the match, did you see Jude on the left, on the right?
He was
where he used to be, in the middle. On paper, you can see differences. You can see Real Madrid play 7 defenders on paper, but when the game starts, from the 68th minute till the end of the game, Rudiger was playing as the first 9. Yet on paper, he was a defender. Rudiger, Carvajal was Carvajal from the right, Rudiger up front, then Modric from the left, then Modric and Vini from the left. That was what was played. That was what the game was like. Then what's it called? Anda was dropping into midfield behind Rudiger and Kylian Mbappe. Yet there was no service. I think I told you before, this guy missed plenty chances. Rudiger and Agula, there was a pass between them. So it's not about I know when you talk about mentality that they always started games poorly, but you should ask yourself, Real Madrid needs some work to do in defense. You get, it's just we all say this, every team has somebody different that could come into the sub and do a different job than the starting lineup. When the statics from the beginning is not working, you need a sub that could just come and change that game by a narratively small atom of a bit. You understand? One small thing like that, just change the game. Last year we saw it with Brahim Diaz coming in. This year we are not seeing it with Lucas Vazquez. Even when Camavinga was not available, I said this on this show that if Camavinga is not available, it's going to be a problem because Tchouaméni is going to start. And as good as he is as a defensive midfielder, he still lacks creativity, which is one thing Camavinga is ahead of him with. He's good with defending the ball and he's also good creating chances.
Well, as we said, both of them have said, when you get it right as a coach, everybody will think that you are a wonderful coach. When you get it wrong, they will say, your tactics is wrong, this one is wrong. We see how we are analyzing Ancelotti that have won the Champions League last season and won the La Liga. Now, he got it wrong and the Lille manager got it right. Over 38 games for Real Madrid, they have not lost since majority of last season. They didn't lose a game. To this season, now they have lost against Lille. Now that unbeaten record is gone. They are going to start afresh to see probably where they are going to end in this Champions League. Because Real Madrid is Real Madrid. They have won this title record 15 times.